But nevertheless, today's going to be pretty simple. We're going to be going through medical questions and then carrier/program. So this is the point where, right, we're going to be asking our prospects a lot of medical questions, and then we're going to be able to gauge on what carrier to take them, right? Now, ideally, the whole point of today isn't to know what, carrier to take them depending on what. Ideally, if it lets me go to the slide, ideally today will be, getting comfortable with medical questions, right? At this point, these prospects are going to become pretty vulnerable with us, right? Because they're talking to us about, now we're going in depth on medical questions. Yeah, we ask them any major ongoing health conditions so they can assume that we will be asking them some type of medical question. But today is really just getting you guys comfortable with that and then pushing you guys along the script, right? Because I want you guys to be able to master the script. At this point, you guys have had a couple days already to be able to go over, a lot of intro, and then maybe you guys have taken a look at the medical questions slash, carry/program. However, today we're going to be really going in depth on medical questions and the carrier transition. It's pretty simple, and then later on we'll go into, while we're learning more about the system specifically and how to use the CRM, etc., we'll go more in depth on, okay, where do I take the client though, depending on, whatever that they have, because there's some of these carriers that they don't take too well to heart conditions, or there might be someone that doesn't take too hard to take well to COPD, right? So I know a lot of you guys use Aetna before, so American Home Life, right? They do have a graded program, but sometimes depending on what they have, they might go graded with Aetna, but they might go preferred with another carrier, right? So this is all stuff to know, but it's a lot of information. So ideally today we'll really hone in on, like getting comfortable with medical questions, and then the carrier transition, all that good stuff. And then from there, we'll go on. So today, right, the objective is simple. We're going to master the medical questions section, deliver a clean, confident, medical question read. And then we're going to learn a smooth transition into carrier/program. It's going to be pretty simple. And then later on, when we learn our systems, we'll know exactly kind of where to take them depending on, their medical conditions. Now, if you're someone that does want to use the toolkits, which I recommend using because it's going to make your job a whole lot easier in many different ways, then obviously knowing the carrier is still going to be very important. However, toolkits is going to be a really good kind of cheat code to being able to tell where to take them. Now, the purpose of medical questions, right? Qualify the client cleanly and professionally, right? Who are they going to be able to get qualified with, right? Are they going to go graded, and then you can kind of also depend on really how are you going to pitch price now as well, right? Because if these people, they know that they want to spend $75, although you can input the premium, right, into toolkits or what have you, and then obviously it would pop up the exact amount that they want, depending on what they're looking for, right? It's really going to depend on what you can really give them. If they're super unhealthy, right, it's going to be hard. You're kind of know that it's going to be harder for you to get them maybe qualified. Ideally, you already asked them if they have any major ongoing health conditions, so this shouldn't be a problem. However, if worse comes to worse, right, you might have to take them to a couple different carriers. Now, we are very blessed to use the carriers that we do use, right? We're very, they're some of the best carriers. I know before when I didn't use Mutual of Omaha or Americo, right, I would get on the phone with the client and I'd be like, yeah, I'd pull up the rate form and they'd be like, oh, well, I had an agent yesterday call me and, they were able to get me, half that with Americo or Mutual of Omaha. And I was like, dang. So I'm really happy that we're able to use the carriers that we use, but ideally, still, no matter what, it's always good to be able to tell exactly what is going on with our client, and then also be able to, really build trust with them, right? When the way that we do that, we already know, is through tone and pacing, which a lot of you guys have gotten a lot better at. I've listened to a lot of your guys' intros. You guys sound a lot of you guys sound really good. There wasn't actually anything specific with anyone where I was like, oh wow, that's really, not not that great, yada yada. It was a lot of like really small things. So you guys are gonna do just fine, and you guys have already gone through the hard stuff, which is intro, right? That's the most important. That's the most important part of the script. Now it flows pretty simply, pretty easy. There's nothing too crazy that you have to get around, right? It's pretty straightforward. All you have to do here is you read the script, right? So ideally, we want to make these medical questions not feel like you're interrogating your client, right? So aggressively, because it could come off that way. You're asking them a lot of, any COPD, emphysema, or asthma, right? We want to be very, nice with our clients. Yeah, we want to be professional, right, to the point. We don't want them to, lie to us for any reason. But like ideally, being really friendly with these people and making them feel like they can trust you is going to save you a lot of time as well, because they're going to be completely honest with you no matter what. I've had clients do weird things. Not that I get a lot of clients that lie to me, but there's a lot of clients that maybe if I push too quick through medical questions, they're not going to tell me something, and then I'm going to take them to a certain carrier and they're not going to get approved. Now that's fine, but what does that mean now? Now I need to keep them on the line for even longer, because now I have to go switch to another carrier to get them approved with. But naturally, my client's going to get a little bit antsy, right? He's not, he or she isn't going to want to stay on the phone for another, 10 minutes while I get them approved with another carrier. So, and send them another text code that they have to go look at, right, in order to sign the document. So these are all very important things to be able to transition your client, cleanly, smoothly, in the quickest way possible, while obviously not rushing, through the entire process. So, we don't want it to feel, interrogational or aggressive. Medical questions, the best practices, right? Ideally, we want to read them very calm, right? Confidently, evenly, right? Make sure that they actually, know what you're saying. Another really big thing is going to be doing a little bit of research too. Like if you can research what type of, maybe they'll take maybe a nebulizer, right? If they have COPD or maybe just asthma. Right. What are they taking if they have diabetes? Is it just metformin, or is it do they take insulin? Right. So these are all big things to be able to know, and this is going to be done on your own time. Right. I'm no doctor, but I did a lot of research. Right. What type of medication is my client going to take depending on their current situation and what type of medical conditions that they have? Because it's going to be a lot different. Now, if they have some special, medication that they take because they have, they have maybe an issue with, what have you, right? And you're able to be like, oh, do you take this blank medication for it? They're going to be like, oh, wow. I thought this guy was just a life insurance agent. He's really professional. Like, I didn't know that he knows, that much about, medical. It's just going to instill more trust in you the more that you know about, the medical questions and the certain, medications that they're going to use depending on what, medical issues that they have. It's always good. Do your research, right? If you're someone that doesn't want to do as much research, you're still going to be fine, but it can't hurt, right? It's whatever you can do to instill more trust in yourself and have them trust you. That's always important. You may as well do it, right? So keep pacing constant, throughout. Like we want to push it through. We don't want it to sound super uneven, right? Keep it steady pace. You guys already know what you're doing. You've already gone through intro, right? Now we're just keeping the pace steady, right? The whole rest of the script, it's a lot of the similar stuff, right? I mean, obviously towards the end, in the application, there's a lot of room for, you're asking about family, there's a lot of room for building rapport, all that good stuff. However, here, a lot of the script is just pushing through it evenly, listening to your client, not going too far off the straight line of the close, right? We're still, staying pretty center, just pushing it forward comfortably along the way, helping them just trust you, keeping the same tonality, like, right? The trusting, I'm your agent, I'm a professional, but I'm always, you're in my best interest tonality, right? And you're going to be fine. The intro is the most important, and then obviously the very end is the most important. But anywhere in between that, it's just about not over-explaining, right? Using warm tone to reduce, defensiveness, using our warm tone throughout the whole script, and then avoid over-explaining or apologizing. That's the biggest thing that I see with a lot of agents, whether you're writing up an application and you're apologizing, oh, so sorry about that. Sorry, it's just gonna take one more second. Don't do that. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see is like people are kind of uncomfortable in that space. But if your lawyer was gonna have you fill out one more piece of paper or what have you that he forgot to have you sign, he's not gonna be like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Can you please just sign that? You're gonna be like, am I in good hands? I don't know, right? But if he's just like, oh, also you're gonna need to sign this piece of paper as well, you're gonna be like, okay, that's fine, right? So avoid over explaining or apologizing. That is two of the biggest things that I see people lose the close over halfway through, right? You've already gone through the hard stuff, like we said, right, in the beginning. Now it's gonna come down to being able to not over explain or apologize throughout the rest of the script until the very end, where still there's no over explaining that needs to happen when you're getting social or bank. But if you can keep yourself from over explaining throughout the script, you're going to be fine. They're going to be comfortable. You won't lose them, right? That's really the only thing. They're already hooked. I'm pretty sure it's a 60% chance that you're going to close them after you get them past intro, which I'll get the exact number on that, but it's something pretty outrageous. So as long as you don't over explain, you're going to be fine. Next, transition to carrier recommendation, right? And then we'll go more in depth on where exactly to take them. Either I'll go over that, a little bit more tomorrow, before we move on, or we'll go over that, towards the end during carrier program. We bring this up quite a bit actually, so it'll come up, a couple different times. But once you close the medical question section, with authority, right? We already know that's the only way they're going to trust you. They're going to be honest with you, all that good stuff. It's a pretty natural shift into carrier recommendation, right? Here we're talking about, this carrier has an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau. We're just building credibility here, right? Oh wow, not only is my agent super credible, right? They're clearly a professional in the way that they're speaking with me. I can definitely trust my agent, right? All that good stuff. Even bigger than that though, now they can trust the carrier. Now they know that they're in good hands, throughout the rest of their policy. Because not only you're there for the beginning, you're still going to make a good relationship with them, throughout their journey in, having life insurance that was set up through you with a carrier. They're still going to know you, right? That's keep a good relationship with your clients. However, bigger than that though, you're not the one that's insuring them. You're not the one that has to pay out their family when that time comes. Now you can assist in that process. They can reach out to you. You can assist in that process. But the biggest thing is they're going to be taken care of by this carrier that you set them up with, right? So naturally, you're going to want to build a lot of reputation for this carrier. You want this carrier to seem, as legitimate as it really is, right? You want to make the transition feel expected and not super abrupt, right? If we and that goes with every single transition from each part of the script, right? If it's natural, which it has been very meticulously, written out to be very natural, very easy to shift. I've seen everything, so I always make it super clear. I've seen people that it's kind of a weird change through each different section in the script. So I always try and be as clear as possible. Make the transition feel super expected, not abrupt, right? Because we want our clients to really feel comfortable, right? Maintain a really steady flow and tone throughout the entire script, not just carrier recommendation, carrier/program, but still just maintain a steady flow and tone. The reason I'm not trying to overcomplicate it is because it doesn't need to be overcomplicated, right? This meeting probably won't go on as long because I want you guys to really hone in on still intro and then getting this done and being able to really practice that today, right? Because it doesn't need to be that complicated, right? Sometimes there isn't, a lot of explaining that needs to be done with a lot of sections in the script because it has been meant to be super simple. So as long as we're doing the right things, right, we're confident in ourselves as being the professional, and we're confident in the products that we're able to provide these people, we're going to do very well. We're not going to have any issues. Next, carrier positioning, right? When we're presenting this carrier, right, Americo, what have you, whatever carrier, you decide to take them with, you're going to obviously do it with certainty, right? Clear your day. You're not the only client I've set up with them. I really like them. They're reputable, right? They have an A+ rating, and long-standing credibility. An A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau. Now, a lot of these people don't know what the Better Business Bureau does. They don't know what they do, right? But if you can deliver that with such conviction, clearly it's going to sound reputable, because it is, right? Keep the explanation super simple and very client focused, right? We're going to position, preferred coverage without overselling. Right, we're going to keep the explanation very simple, and client focused, right? We're telling them now, okay, this is the product that you're going to go with. Yes, I'm the one helping you, but now, we're going with the product. If you walk onto a car lot, right, and a car salesman sees you and he knows this, that, etc. about the car that you're going to buy, you're going to be like, wow, he really knows his stuff. But how do I know that whatever the car company that I'm going with, how do I know that Ford Motors though is credible? Right? How do I know that they're gonna actually take care of me in the long run? After I drive my car off this lot, that sales agent, I can call him and tell him I'm having this, that, whatever problem, but he's not going to be there with me on the side of the road if my car breaks down, right? It's going to come down to how long is this car going to run for, right? How long is how credible are they? And how well are they going to take care of me, right? So that's super important to really instill faith in, for them to have faith in you, and then obviously the carrier that's going to be taking care of them for the rest of their life, right? If you don't set them up with a good carrier, which there's a lot of carriers that certain other agencies work with that maybe don't have as good of a rep with paying out policies, stuff like that. I personally think you're doing your prospect a very huge injustice, right? And there's some of these companies which like Combined, for example, right? They're going through. I don't know if you guys who Combined is. I don't know if maybe some if you are an agent, you probably heard of them. Not the best rep, right? So stuff like that. With the carriers that we use are very reputable. They're very trustworthy. They've been around a long time, right? However, it's always good to still reinstill that in our client, because our client doesn't know that. Our client isn't, some pro, guru who knows everything about life insurance. They just know that they need to get their family protected at the end of the day. That's the most important thing to them. I need to get my family protected. So now it's your job to really build that trust, between you and the client, then also build that credibility with the carrier that's going to be taking care of them for the rest of their life. Right, so keep the explanation very simple and client focused, and it doesn't need to be super crazy, because it's in the script. All you have to do is read the script correctly, and you're going to be fine, right? Occasionally you'll get questions about the carrier, nothing really crazy, or sometimes people will be like, oh, I've heard of that carrier. Yeah, I know them. Oh, I've seen, for instance, Mutual of Omaha. They used to have an animal show. I think back in the day, they used to have some type of animal show. So oftentimes when I bring up Mutual of Omaha, they're like, oh, they had that animal show on TV a while back that they sponsored, right? I'm like, yeah, right? That builds really big credibility, because I was like, oh, that was quite a while ago. That they've been around quite a while now. It just builds that much more credibility, right? And then now we position the preferred coverage without overselling it. So if someone goes preferred, right, we're not going to be overselling, the fact that they went preferred. Let me see. We'll go into. I'll actually read this off to you guys so you guys can know exactly what I'm talking about. So right around here, right, perfect. And just to see what we can get you approved for. Do you smoke any tobacco products? Using cigarettes, etc., etc. It's pretty simple, right? And now, as far as insurance goes, is this something you've been looking into for a while, or just recently because you need it? Right, now we're building trust. Well, was it a while ago or just recently? And oftentimes when they're like, just recently, I'll ask them and I'll be like, hey, did something happen recently that you're looking into it now? Or what's the real reason behind you wanting to get it? Was it a medical thing that happened? Because I want to make sure that they're going to get approved, right? And what carrier to take them. And oftentimes it's not that. Oftentimes it's, I had a family member that just passed, right? That's another pain point. A lot of these people had something that just recently happened in their life, where now they're seeing this ad on TV and they're realizing, oh, wow, I need to get this right now. All right. And then you're also just reinstilling, trust. Okay. And just to make sure we're on the same page, right? You're just building that trust. We're on the same page here. We're both trying to get to the same end goal, which is getting you covered with the best possible carrier with the best possible rate, right? You were just looking for something that would give you some peace of mind, completely tax-free, where those rates will never go up on you. Is that correct? Right? Yeah, of course it is. Right? We're just building guesses here. Of course they're looking for something that would give them that peace of mind where it's completely tax-free. Right? When they borrow against the policy, it's tax-free. They don't pay taxes on it. Right? They already, obviously that's what they're looking for. Yes, right? We're building yeses here. And then once it gets to, okay, got it. So I do have the privilege of working with a carrier that does look like you'll be able to pre-qualify for, called American Home Life. You probably heard of them before, right? Right? It's pretty simple, right? We're just building credibility. Yeah, they've been around a long time. They have an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau, which means they've never missed a payout claim in over 80 years. Right? It's pretty casual, right? I'm not like overselling the fact that this is such a great carrier, because we're not selling we're selling a product, but not in the sense of, what people usually think of when, it comes to salesmen selling a product, right? We're not like, yeah, they've been around a long time and they have an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau, which means they've never missed a payout claim in over 80 years. Sound fair enough? Right? We're not doing that with these people. It's pretty casual. It's pretty easy, going all the way through it. You're just building credibility. Right, just letting them know the facts. And what is this doing? It's making you seem like a super knowledgeable agent, which you are, which is reinstilling faith in them, and them having faith in you, all that good stuff. And then if they are healthy, at this point, if you use toolkits, you would have already seen all the carriers that they can go with, and you would have already quoted it out on your end. Now, towards the end, I'll do like a whole run through where you guys can see my exact screen, what it looks like while I'm talking to a client. But usually on the left, I'll have, the script up, and like some people have like the script and the objection handles. And then in the middle, they'll have their dialer set up. And then on the right, they will have toolkits, right? So they can pull up toolkits while they're reading the script, all that good stuff. Now, ideally, at this point, you've already written everything up on toolkits up to pretty much all the way through. So you already know what carrier you're going to take them, most likely. So you've already quoted them up on your end. All you're doing now is you're just, okay, now this is the carrier I'm going to take them with. Now you're just solidifying that, right? You already know what needs to happen, but now you need to make sure that they're comfortable, they're good to go. And then, this is also going to make them feel like they're even more safe, more comfortable, and then they're going to be able to go through it even more, right? And also, ideally, at this point, with this section of the script, when that person is going to give you that social objection, in the back of their head, they should be thinking, if I don't get this done today, right, I might be losing out on a very good opportunity from an agent that seems like he's like the utmost professional, perfect agent I possibly could have gone with the most perfect carrier I could have gone with the perfect product I could have gone with, right? I don't want to miss out on that. Now, sometimes people might feel a little bit uncomfortable with the social. If you're being, professional and building good rapport, you shouldn't really have an issue with that. However, they're normal, right? Objections are normal. If you already get a social objection, ideally, that's what we want them to think in the back of their head, though. It's like, wow, I do need to get this. This carrier was going to take good care of me, and so was this agent. Yada yada. It's going to be that much easier for you to just be like, yeah, exactly. I go ahead with social, right? But ideally, at this point, so the main point is it'll come up on your end whether they're going to go like graded or preferred. Preferred means that the person's healthy, right? Graded means that they're not so healthy. So it's going to be a little bit harder for you to get approved. And then the comps obviously are going to change a little bit depending on carrier regarding how healthy or unhealthy that the client is. It really ranges. Obviously, the healthier the client, the more that we're going to get paid out as well. So ideally, you want really healthy clients. With the 2 minutes, what I've noticed, because we do have 2 minutes to qualify our clients, you should actually be able to get through most of, if not all of the medical questions as well. Even if you have like the correct pacing and everything. Because the intro should be 90 seconds, so you should have roughly 30 more seconds to be able to go through, the medical questions, which is pretty easy because there's not a whole lot that needs to be said from them. Most of it is no, 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 and occasionally it's like, yeah, I do have diabetes, or yeah, no, I do have this, but it's not like an over explanation usually at that point. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it should be pretty clear. You should be able to get through that within 30 seconds, so you can kind of gauge whether or not they're going to go preferred or they're going to go graded. Anyways, if they do go preferred, right now you're just letting them know exactly what they're going to get qualified for and the benefits that they're going to have, right? Under American Home Life, you'll pre-qualify for their preferred program. What this means for you is there's no waiting periods, no expiration dates, and most importantly, the rates will never go up on you. Does that make sense? A lot of these other people have gotten set up with carriers with that, like every year the rate is going to go up more and more and more on them every single year. That doesn't happen with any of these carriers. So whatever you tell them today is the rate that they're going to pay for the rest of their life. Right? It's a huge benefit. A lot of these people I've heard like, oh wow, like with my uncle, it went up like literally $50-$60 a month over the course of his whole life. Now, obviously, if they want to upgrade their coverage later, the rate is going to change, right? But if they stay with the same coverage amount, which you should have quoted them properly, taking into account, inflation, all that good stuff, which we'll get to when, we get to pitching price. But ideally, they should be, completely set from here. So, right, there's no waiting periods, no expiration dates, and most importantly, the rates will never go up on you. Does that make sense? Now, the only way that this changes from this to modified is the waiting period. Obviously, if they do go modified or graded or what have you, they're unhealthy. There may be a 2-year waiting period on there. Now, ideally, we know that before, right around us getting to the end. Obviously, before we get all the way through intro, right, we already asked them. So we shouldn't run into this issue. However, all I'm letting you guys know is if they end up being graded, maybe they just said, no, I don't have any major ongoing health conditions, which you can think back, well, why did they tell me no? It's probably something that you did, right? Not gonna lie. This industry is pretty ruthless. A lot of things that go wrong, we find out that it was actually on us, and we could have probably done something different to have that not happen. So if someone does tell you, hey, like, no, I don't have any ongoing health conditions, or major ongoing health conditions, and it turns out that there is something, I'm just letting you guys know it's not the end of the world. We can still get them approved. I've had past cancer patients get approved. I've had everyone under the sun get approved. So we are very blessed to work with the carriers that we work with. You're going to be completely fine. Nevertheless, right, the A+ rating is we're just really, really solidifying with the client that they're going to be in the best hands possible, right? We're keeping it very simple, very client focused, meaning, we're just telling them all the benefits that they're going to have with this policy. You're going to be completely set up. This is the perfect carrier and product to go with to protect your family because it's going to have blank, blank, and blank. Most of these people aren't going to borrow against their policies. I personally am not looking for the client that's like wanting to borrow against their $15,000, $20,000 life insurance policy. Right? I'd like the clients that have other investments in place that they can take against when and it doesn't have to come down to their life insurance policy that they're borrowing against. However, people like to do a whole bunch of different things. It's always good to be able to give them the information, right? Next, just so that we can, fully understand what is the Better Business Bureau. So the Better Business Bureau is a company that is able to actually, I believe it's like a non-profit type organization. Essentially they rate businesses depending on performance in multiple different areas, such as how long have they been how long they've been here, right? Yeah, each company that's been on there has a long and proven history of honoring commitments, right? Meaning that they're paying claims, they handle customer concerns, they have good customer support if you need to call them, and they don't have they don't have a pattern of really complaints compared to, let's say, that carrier that we were talking about combined has a lot of these complaints, right? Not doesn't have an A+ rating. They probably have a rating, but it's probably not A+. Right? They have, extremely low complaint volume, relative to their size. They might be a very large company, but they don't get a lot of complaints. So that's also really good that'll also give them that A+ rating, right? And they also solve issues very quickly. If there's an issue with a claim for whatever reason, someone's going to reach out to them. They're going to really handle that really well. I don't know. I always recommend, calling the carriers, while your contracts are waiting to come back. Oftentimes it can speed up that process. So I will let you guys know. I definitely recommend, calling the carriers here and there. Hey, I'm trying to get contracted with you guys. I have business to submit. Whatever you have to say. That was my famous line when I had no business to submit and I was just an agent that needed to get contracted as soon as possible. I would tell them that all the time. I have business to submit. I need my contract back, right? All that good stuff, just so I can write some business, right? So we can always reach out to them. But the point I'm trying to make, if you reach out to Mutual of Omaha to call them about their the contract that you're waiting on, it sounds like you're on the phone with American Express and that you're a valued customer. That's honestly how it feels. When I first was on the phone with them, I thought that I had called the wrong number because I'm just not used to. I'm used to carriers being nice with me, cordial, because I have a lot of business through them. But I've never experienced, a carrier, that was so professional. So just so that you guys can understand, I recommend calling them because they do have really good customer support, right? That will also give them that A+ rating, right? They solve, issues quickly and professionally, right? They're going to pay out claims no matter what, or they're going to see what happens and they're going to figure out a way to pay out the claim, even if it's not maybe the full amount because your agent didn't put down what have you, they're still going to get paid out something, right? They have a transparent and trustworthy business practice, right? They're not hiding fees, misleading customers, or doing anything shady. That is a huge thing. It's very clear. The clearer the carrier, the better, the more business that I like to put through them, right? And then lastly, right, they're financially stable, so they're not going to go out of business. None of that. As long as the clients are with them paying premiums, they're always going to get paid out. All that good stuff. Next, what not to do, right? We don't want to oversell the carrier, just like we were just talking about, right? We're not salespeople in the usual sense. Of course, that is, if you had to categorize our job, that's exactly what we do. We do life insurance sales, but we're a life insurance agent, right? It's almost like, I like to almost frame it more closer to a real estate agent than anything else, right? We're not just providing, the house. We're not just trying to sell houses. We're providing someone's forever home. Right, so it's a lot more meaningful to a lot of these people, right? So we don't need to necessarily sell it like we're selling a pair of sunglasses or like a stock, for instance. Like we're not overselling these people. It doesn't need to be. Don't overcomplicate it for yourself. That's all I have to say. It's a lot more simple. And once you get comfortable with the fact that it's a lot more simple than maybe you've made it to be, it's gonna get a lot easier for you. And then obviously do not add unnecessary details. You don't have to tell them about the customer support of Mutual of Omaha. Oh, and if you call Mutual of Omaha, they're going to treat you like an American Express, an American Express, client. Like really, yeah, they're so great. Like there's no need for that, right? It's very simple stuff. If you have a question, answer it properly, and get through the script efficiently. And then lastly, and then second to last, do not break cadence or sound unsure. The second that you sound unsure, it's going to be a very big gray area. Now, I'm not saying, if you get a client that's asking you a certain question and you don't know the answer to it, you need to answer in the best way that you possibly can and, with the utmost confidence. Now, that doesn't mean, blatantly lie to your client. Like, if there's something you truly don't know that is important, then, you want to, like, for instance, like, if they ask you how long the carrier's been around and when they were established. This has never been asked to me. I'm just giving you an example, right? And I'm like, well, they've been around for, more than 60 years. I didn't give them an exact date that it was, but I don't know when this carrier was established. I know they've been definitely in business for over 80 years, though. Mutual of Omaha has been around for a while. I know that they've been in business for more than 60 years. Answer confidently, right? And then if you need to, the good thing is we're completely remote. That's one of the benefits. We're not stuck. We're not in this person's house. If you need to look something up on Google real quick while you're talking to them, you can, right? But nevertheless, you really want to never sound unsure, no matter what it is. If they're like, is that going to be an issue? Like, am I still going to be able to get approved? And you're like, Well, let me see. I'm not sure. Or I mean, I think so. I think you should be. That's not what you want to hear, right? If you go to the doctor's office and you're like, hey, am I going to be good? Is recovery is going to take about 2 weeks, and he's like, yeah, I'm sure, right around there, it should be. It's not something that you want to hear, right? We want to be very clear with our clients, we want to sound as positive, straightforward as possible, right? Do not break any cadence, do not speed up a lot because that also makes you sound unsure. And also don't be taking a whole bunch of time and kind of being really slow, because that also kind of can make you sound unsure, and then the client's not going to trust you. All right, so answer in a timely fashion, very confidently, all that good stuff, and then do not ask permission to move forward. Right? And like, I don't mean literally like, oh, do I have your permission to move forward with it? But it's like it's very. This is a much broader point, because I just see people ask permission for a lot of different things with your client, and I think that just comes down to understanding, like, you are the professional at the end of the day. They need this life insurance from you more than you need to give it to them, and that's how it should be, right? At the end of the day, you have a lot of other clients that you're going to call throughout the day that are genuinely going to need your services, and they're not going to take you in a roundabout loop about all this other stuff and all these issues, that they might have, and, like, overly objecting you, because you have other clients that need your help that aren't going to do that to you, that need the life insurance they know that they do, and it's going to come down to you being professional, right? So that's going to be super important. So just ensure, right, we're not asking permission to move forward, nothing like that. You're not asking permission from the client, nothing like that, because you are the. Now, the only line that I would say has the word permission in it, oftentimes I'll say this to clients too. It's like, do I have my permission to be honest with you? Right? And kind of, Danny, to your question the other day where you're like, do you have anything that you add into the script, here and there? That's the only thing. If I get objected, for whatever reason, that's a big line. Do I have my permission to be honest with you? And a lot of times they're not going to say no, right? And then it's going to make them a lot more comfortable to, be okay with whatever it is that you're about to say. But don't ask, directly for permission. Just understand that you are the professional at the end of the day, all that good stuff. Right, so I'm going to go through it one more time, right? So just so that you guys can hear exactly how it should sound. Right, you guys just got through, were you looking for something that would cover your burial expenses or leave some extra money behind for the family? Now, ideally, if they want to spend $75 a month, they should be able to get, burial plus, whatever they have, if they don't have any crazy ongoing health conditions. But now, right, you're into medical questions. Okay, perfect. And just to see what you can get approved for, do you smoke any tobacco products, use cigarettes? Okay, gotcha. Any COPD, emphysema, or asthma? Any diabetes, cancers, kidney issues, heart attacks, or strokes? Okay, gotcha. You have diabetes. How's that been treating you? How's that been treating you overall? Okay, are you taking insulin for that? Okay, beautiful. Any congestive heart failure, lupus, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or dementia? Gotcha. I tend to leave the keys around the house, but I don't think I got any of that just yet. Okay. And any other prescriptions I should know about? Okay, awesome. And as far as insurance goes, is this something you've been looking into for a while, or just recently because you need it? Okay, and just to make sure we're on the same page, you were just looking for something that would give you that peace of mind, completely tax-free, where those rates will never go up on you. Is that correct? Okay, got it. So I do have the privilege of working with a carrier that does look like you're going to pre-qualify for, called Aetna. You've probably heard of them before, right? Yeah, they got the purple ads on TV. They've been around a long time. They have an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau, which means they've never missed a payout claim in over 80 years. And under Aetna, you will pre-qualify for their preferred program. What this means for you is there's no waiting periods, no expiration dates, and most importantly, the rates will never go up on you. Does that make sense? Perfect. So if I can get you approved here for the preferred program, it means you will have access to something called living benefits. And what this means for you is this policy will increase in cash value. You can borrow against it tax-free, and it acts as a personal bank account with that attached death benefit. So basically, let's say if you or a family member, God forbid, get ill and need to pay for crazy medical bills, you don't come out of pocket, and it acts as a safeguard against any unexpected expenses down the road. Does that kind of make sense? Beautiful. Now, Aetna does have a couple recommended options here for you. Blank, blank, blank. They're so great. You're going to pay this much a month for them. That's how you do it. It should sound really very clear, right? Very slow, pretty natural. There's not a lot of over explaining to do because we have a system that works. Now, obviously, if you're reading off of a broken script, then I would understand that it wouldn't sound like that. But this has been, split tested. There's been a lot of trial and error with a lot of, and that eventually got us to this script, which has worked for super experienced agents that have never even used a script before, never sold anything, and everybody in between. It's how people find success, and I have a very strong feeling that it will not be any different for anybody else in here. A lot of you people, you guys already sound very solid from what I've heard, compared to a lot of groups that I've trained. So I think you guys will not have any issue as long as you guys are following the script with good tonality, being clear, and going so slow that you think you sound stupid. If you can do those things, you're gonna be super solid. And you're not going to have any issues. Now, assignment, today we're just going to record the medical questions and then the carrier/program. You're going to deliver it confidently and naturally. You guys already know. Same thing with the intro, right? Except now, it's time you can often build rapport here around a lot of the medical questions. How's that been treating you? Man, I've been going through this, and this. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I hear you. I'm sorry. You've been having to go through that. When do they say, or blank, whatever it is, right? This is your time that you can build a little bit of rapport here, but it's not really needed, right? There's going to be time for that later, but rapport is always good, right? If it's there, you can build rapport, but it's pretty straightforward. Right? There's all I'll say is there's no reason to really overcomplicate it. It's so simple that we don't even need to go, up to the entire hour here, right? We're gonna end, probably 10 minutes early today, right? Because it's that simple. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated, and as long as you guys aren't overcomplicating anything, you're gonna be completely fine, right? So just send the recording to me directly on iMessage or GroupMe, and then make sure obviously you're practicing on your own. Rep it out. Don't just do carrier and program today, right? Go back, run it with intro. Okay, now how does it sound? Now let me just go back just to do intro. Okay, now let me do medical questions and then carrier/program. Okay, now let me put them both together to make sure it sounds smooth, right? Because you're going from this intro, which is I'm getting you qualified, to taking a little bit of a breather, right? We have enough time where the intro shouldn't sound rushed, but you're already past the 2 minutes now. Now it's your time to solidify and get them through the close. So all that good stuff. Does anyone have any specific questions for me? Anything whatsoever? I know today was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
I knew it. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Always do. So a couple. One is there usually a 2-year waiting period for people, or is that like less often?
It's gonna depend carrier to carrier. It's just a product that is often seen with people that are unhealthy. Here we actually have it in the script. So oftentimes, and obviously the waiting period is going to differ depending on, okay, let me see. It's not on this specific document, but I can get it for you. So essentially they receive 10% of their premiums back plus, they receive their premiums back plus 10% coverage in the first 2 years. So after the 2 years, then they're going to be fully covered. So whatever they put into it, they're not like losing money per se.
So their beneficiary would get at least their premiums plus 10% minimum.
Yeah, plus 10% coverage. So they're not like completely like left in the dust here. And oftentimes, if they have an issue saving, then like oftentimes they'll still cover a lot of what they need to cover anyways. Which is the burial, stuff like that, but they're not going to receive like that full benefit. Like let's say it's $25,000 and it's $110 a month. They're going to get the $110 a month that they've been paying the last year and a half if they pass away within that first 2 years. And that's something.
Often would you say that happens? Like out of how many cases? Like what's the percentage?
Like how many people go graded, or how many people pass away before 2 years?
How many people get that 2-year period instead of like just getting effective immediate policy?
I would say it's right around like 20%. I would say of clients, probably even less than that, given like our script, because we already asked them, do they have any major ongoing health conditions, and then you should be able to get through a lot of a lot of the carrier slash program stuff, like a lot of the health condition stuff before the 2 minutes. So ideally, it shouldn't really happen. Pretty rare. It's pretty rare. Like never to say the least. But that doesn't say that it doesn't happen. Like it's gonna happen occasionally. And sometimes if the monthly rate does make sense, you can still take them because like at the end of the day, like you're still doing these people justice. Like it's better getting them at least approved for a graded program where they'll have coverage guaranteed in 2 years from now than setting them up with nothing, right? A lot of these people really need the coverage. So you're still doing them justice, right? They do need the coverage. So I would definitely occasionally I'll take past clients, knowing that they're gonna, go graded, just because I know that they need coverage and I'm the best person to give it to them, right? So
Got it.
yeah.
Okay, can I ask a couple more quick ones?
Always, yeah.
All right. One is, do they have to get a blood test? Because I know that that's a common thing. No blood test. So my next question is, how long do approvals usually take? Like, can they just get approved right there on the call? And then is it possible for someone to get approved on the call, but then denied later when there's like more information taken? Or is it like once they're approved on the call, that's it?
Yeah, good question. So ideally, we'll go through like a lot of this stuff like later on when we're getting into, because there is a section in the script. However, they get approved on the phone with you, and then what was your other question? Just re-ask your question real quick.
Is it possible for someone to get approved like on the call, but then denied later if like the company asks for another intake form or whatever to be filled out, and then they get denied? Or is it like whatever we input on the call, if they get approved, they're approved?
Yeah, so it's going to differ carrier to carrier. I know Americo does another check after a year that they're with them. They'll check back again and make sure that everything was filled out correctly, which is why it's like important. Like you want to fill out the medical questions correctly, and it's going to come down to your client telling you, what they've had. Oftentimes on some carriers, like for instance, American Home Life at the very end, if you click like no on everything, for example, which, because you thought, they were healthy, nothing wrong. At the end, it'll actually go into like a real-time decision where like a little yellow dot will pop up. You'll click it and it'll be like, has this person gone through, not rehab, but like has this person had like drug abuse in the last 6 to 8 months? And you'll ask them, right? Hey, just a couple more questions, and depending on how they answer those, the rate may change a little bit, but most likely they'll still get approved. They won't have that 2-year waiting period. As far as the blood test, we ask them for their social, so they and every company does a medical and prescription background check, which is tied to the social. So just go ahead with the social. And that's at social, which we'll go over. But essentially, the social is a real-time decision. Very rarely will a client go to home office, which is essentially, it just means that the carrier needs a little bit more time processing something. Maybe there was something weird with their social or what have you, and they'll go through it. Oftentimes, though, you can't fill out any information unless everything's correct, and it's a real-time decision, which is so nice. Like we can get them approved on the phone, which is a big selling point to a lot of these elderly people who thought that they're going to have to go out of their way, spend a whole day going to the doctor, which they probably don't like to do because they go anyways. But now they get to do it from home, and they're approved.
Yeah, I was just wondering if they like just take their word for it, if they say no to all of the diseases, but I guess when they have their social, they have their medical information.
Yeah, they have all their medical information, all that good stuff. And then obviously the other thing too is you won't have a chargeback though. That's what I'll put it that way. You're not gonna have a chargeback. When they check, it's strictly to make sure that the client actually gave you the proper information, because you did all the right things. You asked them, right? You filled everything out correctly, and then it should be after that year mark, so you won't necessarily receive a chargeback for it. Obviously, the most important thing for me, at least, isn't necessarily that, and it's making sure that my clients are going to be protected. But I hope that answered your.
Yeah, that was great. Those were, I think, important questions.
Yeah, no, that was really good, and it's questions like oftentimes it's questions like we definitely will get into, but I always like answering it now, because then it's like, well, I mean, it'll just be a refresher when we get back into it. But does anyone else have any sort of questions, anything like that? I always think like we're gonna end off early, but we usually I love it. A lot of questions is always good stuff. So let me see. And anyone else have any specific questions? Go ahead, Laddie.
Yeah.
Or
Roman, for the healthcare questionnaire, that's a part of our script.
Yeah.
The application itself, depending on the questionnaire, we're filling it on site, right? Americo.com, mutualofomaha.com.
Not necessarily. Oftentimes, I'll go through all of it, and then at the end, there's a point in the script I'll show you guys. At the very end, there's a point. What I'll do now is I'll fill out the rest of this paperwork and to see if you'll get approved. Just hang tight. I'll put you on hold, and you come back with the decision. Now, you're going to do a lot of different things depending on the agent that you are. I like building rapport. I don't put my clients on hold because I don't want them risking hanging up. So whether it's on accident, whatever, obviously you can call them back, but I don't put my clients on hold. I'll talk with them while I'm filling out the application, the information, all that good stuff. So ideally, you fill it out after. Now, I will say, depending on the type of agent, that's what I recommend doing when you start, right? Is filling out everything afterwards, doing the application afterwards. However, I know agents that will do it like right as like while they're talking to them, they'll fill out the application live. I don't personally like to do that. I like to be able to fill everything out afterwards. It helps me stay on script, all that good stuff. That's what I've done. It's just going to be personal preference, but I'll have everyone start this way, where you're filling out everything afterwards, after you're like done with the script, all that, and you have them on hold, or you're talking with them while you're filling everything out.
And we send them emails to get signature, or is it just verbal authorization?
Yeah, so it depends. Oftentimes it's like a text code to their phone. And so like while you're talking to them, you'll be like, hey, and Americo just sent you that like a 6-digit code. Just go ahead with that. A lot of it's super, super simple stuff, really easy. That's why I love like the carriers that we work with. It's all the signature e-sig is super simple, super easy, really straightforward.
To omit having to use and pay for a toolkit, because that's our rating system, I'm assuming. Do you give us underwriting guidelines for Mutual, Americo?
Yeah, we're gonna go over that too, like kind of like where to take certain clients depending on certain issues. Like there's some carriers that take well to like they don't really care about COPD as much, like lung issues, and then there's some that really will probably have them go graded if they have lung issues, stuff like that. But nevertheless, we'll go more in depth on that as well. Yeah, but toolkits, I love it because it's pretty accurate. There's just like some cases where like it'll tell you that the prospect doesn't have like Americo won't offer them coverage, and then I'll take them. I know Americo. I'll take them Americo, and they'll get approved for preferred. But we'll go over all that good stuff. And then Danny. I don't know. I thought someone else had a question. I don't know. But anything?
No, yeah, Roman, I was just saying about she just brought up about the carriers. You keep bringing it up because I'm new to this. How many carriers do we have? And like, what is the difference between the carriers? Yes. Like you're talking about some of them do like COP, like different, diseases, or if someone has different illnesses. Yeah. Like there's different, it sounds like different carriers go different ways with different illnesses and, like somewhere to study and know about that.
Yeah, I actually have like a whole layout, like a whole slideshow already that shows each carrier kind of where to take them depending on what issues that they have. Oftentimes Toolkits is going to do that, but we use 4 carriers, which I'll help you get contracted when we get your license back here pretty soon. But it's Americo, American Amicable, American Home Life, and then Mutual of Omaha is the 4th one. So oftentimes it's a lot of preference too, like depending on what type of people that you tend to close. Like if you're better with elderly people that might, they tend to have a lot of diabetes pretty often, for example. Like you'd probably stick them with one carrier. Like for instance, I really like Americo. Some people like Mutual of Omaha. I like Americo. I always recommend, it's not the worst thing to spread your business out between all carriers. I just like to have my business like often in one place. So if I can take them Americo, I'm gonna take them Americo, right? Like most times, just because that's what I like. They've treated me good. I like taking people Americo, all that good stuff. But yeah, we're gonna go like more in depth on exactly what type of. I'll email it to you guys too, so like you guys can have like a kind of like a little like cheat sheet as well. I'll email it to you guys tonight because I think that's something that a lot of you guys are interested in seeing. I'll email you guys like the cheat sheet of like what each carrier does and kind of where to take them depending on what issues. But ideally, if you're someone that's going to pay for toolkits, which I recommend that you do, it's like 20 something I think a month. Actually, no, it might be like 30 something a month. Ideally, it's very helpful, saves me a lot of time, and has probably made me a lot more money because I know exactly where to take them depending on, what carrier is going to give them the best rate, and then what carrier is going to take them preferred, all that good stuff.
With toolkits, as they answer the medical question, you just enter them in there, and then it's going to basically tell you who to go with.
Yeah, I'll actually show you guys what it looks like here. It's kind of cool. So let's say, let me see. Here, it's already filled up. So 10/23/1970. Let me see. And they're in Louisiana, and they want $15,000 worth of coverage, right? Now, ideally, right, no cigarettes, nothing. Perfectly healthy 50-year-old who wants $15,000 worth of coverage is going to be $50 with Americo. Now, this guy also smokes cigarettes. Now, Americo dropped from 50 to 80. Now, you can take a Mutual of Omaha, though, which is going to save them, $9. Ignore Corbridge Financial. Sometimes, I need to take that off here. But, right, American Home Life is coming in after that, which would make sense, right? But they're going preferred. Preferred, level, legacy. This is good. Preferred means that there's not going to be a waiting period, though. Now, let's give him...
With the level, there is a waiting period with that first one at $70?
No. So, carriers will have different names for the product, but, I always call it preferred. That's what I'm used to. The healthy program or what have you, they all have, their own... for instance... I think,
guidelines?
Yeah, well, then, names for the product. It's the same product, but they like to have their own names. For instance, I think Americo is Eagle Select or whatever, and it, means that they're healthy.
It's different programs that they have.
Yeah. And so let's see. Now
how much is toolkits a month?
Yeah, it's 30 something a month. I'll get you guys the exact rate. I think it's $30-$40 a month. But for me personally, it makes sense because I think I've actually made more money using toolkits and saved a lot of time. Who knows how many clients I've had that stayed on the line because I took them to one carrier real quick, then because I had it on toolkits. So let's say he has diabetes for whatever reason, right? He has diabetes with Mutual Omaha, right? We can see it's $70 right now, but he has diabetes, and for whatever reason, let me see, diabetes, no complications, but he's healthy, right? You can get a quote. Oh wow, diabetes actually didn't change anything. It's nice. But there's certain things, so VMCOPD, for instance, that's one that will change it, especially if he smokes cigarettes as well. Right, now we can see the difference. So now Mutual of Omaha, right, graded. So notice you're oh wow, it actually dropped for him, right, on Mutual of Omaha. It did, but now he's going to go graded, right, which means this is still a really good rate actually for him. The fact that it was able to drop is actually really solid. So it's $67 a month and it's the graded program. So there's a 2-year waiting period on there, right, and oftentimes it'll show you right, all that. So year 3, for instance, years 1 and 2, they're gonna get all their premiums back plus 10%, and then after year 3, right, they'll get that 100%. So it depends per carrier, right? And this is obviously that's what's nice too. It's you can literally hover over it and it's gonna show you, and it'll also show you certain commissions depending on what carrier, because the commission, as far as the commission stays the same, right? We always talk about with us is 70%, but within the carrier, how much they pay out depending on medical conditions is going to be slightly different, carrier to carrier. I can't tell you the exact rate. It's just going to depend, and obviously graded is a little bit less than if they went preferred, all that good stuff. Any other specific questions, anything like that?
So if last one, if a company like Americo or whatever, they give let's say 80% of the yearly premium, does that ever happen?
How do you mean? 80% of the...
Because you said sometimes the carriers pay different premiums and you guys take 70% of whatever we end up closing. So does it get double?
No, you start at 70% commission. The commissions are different depending on carrier to carrier regarding the graded program. We'll get, if I set someone up with a graded program, I'm going to get paid less because it's depending on the carrier, because obviously it's a higher risk to get, obviously them approved, depending on what carrier that they go with. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Anything like that?
I have one more, Roman. It's about, because I'm new to this, and you keep on talking about 30 seconds and taking past 2 minutes, and with our, with our intro and all of our studies that we're doing right now and recordings. What do you mean like timeline? Like what is this? What is the 30 seconds to 2 minutes, 2 minute mark? Like, what does that all mean?
Yeah, so good question. It's so ideally, so the regarding so ideally the 2 minutes is how long that we have to qualify our client, right? So we have 2 minutes to qualify our client, and then after the 2 minutes, obviously you're gonna pay $50 for the lead. So that's all we talk about is like the inbounds. We have people calling our phones, right, for the life insurance. After 2 minutes, though, you don't pay anything for the lead until after 2 minutes. So that's why in the intro it's so important to qualify them, make sure everything's all good, everything's copacetic, that they're healthy, all that good stuff, and then you can take them. You can take them past the 2 minutes because most likely they're going to go preferred. Which is why we always talk about like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, like graded, all that. This isn't really anything that you guys are going to have to really deal with because of the fact that we already are. We're already making sure that our clients are all good to go. If that kind of makes sense. So you guys are pretty much solid. You guys won't really experience a lot of gradeds. I mean, I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but it's going to be definitely very rare for us compared to a lot of other clients that might be using, like having, outbound systems, all that.
In other words, we're gonna make a lot of money. Just keep it short and simple.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be a lot of money to be made for sure. Any other question, anything like that?
So, Roman, real quick, you said that having inbound leads actually reduces the amount of graded policies?
Oh, for sure, because we're qualifying them in the beginning, right? Graded only comes down to the fact that your client is relatively unhealthy to a certain extent, right? So but we say there's no major ongoing health conditions, perfect. And then with that extra 30 seconds that you get, because ideally the intro that, obviously we went through on day 1 and 2, you should be able to get through in 90 seconds, right around there. So you should have roughly 30 seconds more to get specifics on the medical questions, all that good stuff. So you should be, you should kind of be able to kind of gauge whether or not you're going to take them past, depending on their medical conditions.
Gotcha.
Anything else before we end off here? A lot of good questions, but yeah, you guys don't have to worry about graded as much.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you've had to go through it a lot.
Because these 2 minutes better give me my money.
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear you. Yeah, a lot of you guys, I'm sure, have had to go through, deal with the gradeds, all that. And like, they're not the worst thing, but I mean, they're not fun to deal with. And oftentimes, you'll get all the way through it, and then your client will be like, "Oh, it's 2 years. I don't want to do it," even though this is the best thing for them to get. And there's literally
they're receiving something instead of nothing plus that 10%.
That and there's literally nothing. No risk for them. If they pass away, their family's still going to get it. It just has to do with like a savings account. But if anything, right, with like a high yield savings account almost for them, if they obviously. But nevertheless, the really good questions. Anything else before we kind of end off here? A lot of good questions, a lot of good stuff. But yeah, and a lot of stuff we'll go into later on as well. Okay, I'm going to take that as, I didn't see Aetna as one of your characters. Ymir said that earlier today. So what I meant by that, I just had the carrier in there on my what's it called? Let me see, on my toolkits. I just had it in there, but I should probably take that off. But also, sometimes it gives me like a rating because American Home Life gives similar rates to them just because they're, all that good stuff. Oh, you mean in the script? I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so in the script we had it Aetna because we used to use Aetna, which is like that just goes back to prove like this script that we have has been used over a very long time and has been split tested and changed to give us the best results possible. And this was the same rate that got us from being this is the same script that we use to get us noticed by bigger carriers. When we just used to use Aetna, it helped us write enough business with Aetna where now we have Mutual of Omaha, Americo, and we're able to get you guys contracted with these really good carriers. So yeah, don't worry about that in the script. I can change that out. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, American Home Life, Mutual of Omaha, all that. Those are the carriers that we use. Nevertheless, anything else? Any other questions? Awesome. Well, today was a pretty productive meeting, to say the least. I'll be sending out sending out the recording as soon as possible. I have another meeting to hop into, back-to-back meeting, but nevertheless, so I'll try and make this pretty quick. But yeah, nevertheless, really good stuff today. Really productive. You know, I love all the questions. It shows that you guys are super engaged. A lot of you guys are gonna do really well. Try and get that, obviously, the assignment into me as soon as possible. Better to just rip the band-aid off, get it done. You know, I know a lot of you guys just tend to like carve out time right after the meeting to get it done. But no matter what, just try and get it done before, obviously, tomorrow's meeting. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. But, you know, I think we're all good. All right, awesome. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Have a good day.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a safe
Thanks,
day,
Roman.
everyone.
Thanks, Roman.